Hi, welcome to this segment of Consumer Thursday, brought to you by the Consumer Council of Missouri. Today we have with us Mr. John B. Coffman, an attorney and utility consumer advocate who has focused his 36-year-plus career on trying to save money for residential households and on promoting consumer protections for the most vulnerable of our utility consumers. John is the Utility Consumer Counsel for the Consumer Council of Missouri and has been in that position since 2008. John has also done a lot of work on behalf of AARP and other organizations and fought for consumer rights in multiple cities and states across the country. John began his career in 1989 in the state's official Utility Consumer Advocate Agency, the Missouri Office of Public Counsel, or OPC as it is known. He's also served as head of the agency he served as the head of that agency, from 2003 to 2005, and also served as vice president of the National Association of State Utility Consumer Advocates. With that, I would say John has a lot of expertise and a lot of knowledge in this area, considering his 36-year career. And today, we want to talk about a topic that everybody's hearing about in the media and everybody's been discussing, and that's data centers. And with that,
thanks for having me back, George. I appreciate being on Consumer Thursdays. And data centers. Everybody's talking about it. Yeah. Nobody really knows what's going on.
True, so true.
But it is a very big driver of electric rates right now, for sure. Yeah. So, as you may know, there isn't a really good definition of what a data center is. I mean, you could have a couple computers, and that might be a data center. There might be some better definitions. So, I think most states are now talking about large load entities, and talking about being at a certain level of energy usage, right, that would justify kind of special treatment. Right. But the first way that data centers is driving electricity up is just the expectation that we're going to have many more in our area and all over the country, and these are warehouses that are going to be several hundred acres big, full of data-hungry machines. We don't know exactly what's going on. Much of it is under seal. Much of it is deemed confidential or proprietary, and so we can't. These very important decisions about our future and the importance of our electric grid are being made without a lot of background or super secret data.
Yeah, well, that's what sounds significant to me. From what I've heard and what you hear, is these large load, data centers. Mm-hmm. Consuming acres of land, and utilizing thousands and thousands of kilowatts of service, of electric service, or the need for electric service, and also use of water, right, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So I guess to keep those cooling purposes. Right. So when we look at these large loads, how is it possible for the existing electric grids to handle this?
No, there probably needs to be more growth in resources, or more power plants, or the ability to bring power in from other states, probably. Okay. But there is going to definitely be a drive to build more power plants. What kind of power plants, I'm not sure. It could be natural gas, could be nuclear power, could be battery storage and solar. It could be a variety of different types. But the projections for our energy needs are just going up, for sure. But the problem with these projections there's multitude of problems. One is we're not sure whether some of these projections for large load data centers are being double counted, because some of these data centers they're looking at different states. They're trying to get states to compete against each other, getting cities and counties to compete for the lowest taxes they can get. And because of the secret information, we're not so sure that some of them that have plans to go into our area aren't also making alternate plans to go in other areas, and that both states are double counting these entities. That's one problem. Another problem is we don't really know much about their operations. We don't know what kinds of computers, what kinds of processes they're going to be using. And we also don't know about energy efficiency, which I know you're an expert in. And it's likely that these computer processes are going to become more efficient over time, and maybe we aren't going to need quite as much of an increase. It might be lower. Computer processing has continued to become more efficient over the entire life of computers. And so I worry that there may be some exaggeration or overestimation. And I'm sure if you're planning for that kind of electric load, you don't want to be short. And so you're probably erring on the higher end. Another problem is that they're working with the electric utilities, and the electric utilities have, I don't know if I'd say it's a perverse incentive, but they definitely have an incentive to build power plants.
No question.
The more they build, the more power plants they build, the more assets they have, the more money they make. They get a 9 or 10%, sometimes even more, of a profit on that investment. So I'm not sure I totally trust the utilities either, because they have a built-in incentive to build more.
Well, John, one of the things that concerns me is the fact that as these data centers are built, and I mean there are thousands of square foot warehouses with these data centers contained within them, is that technology is always improving. So what you may need today, as you indicate, for energy usage, 10 years from now could be half of that or less. So my concern is what happens to these data centers 10 years down the road. I mean, or 5 years or 8 years down the road. Are they still there, or and not being utilized? And then who pays for it?
Right. I mean, I think there's several things to worry about. They're definitely coming. We know there's going to be data centers, so we have to plan for them. The utility has to build enough power plants to serve them. There's no question about that, although we may disagree about what the projection should be. But once they're here, there's two things. One is we want to make sure that these data centers are paying their fair share of additional investment, and that we as residential customers aren't subsidizing these plants. We want the cost to be allocated fairly, to where the data center pays for their cost, residential customers pay for what demand they put on the grid. And that's an ongoing debate. That's something that the Public Service Commission is expert at looking at. There are several advocates on every side. I'm sure Google and Meta and Amazon and these big tech, they're going to have their lawyers in there. And we're going to be there with our legal opinions, and we'll sort that out. And I'm not saying that they won't find a way to shove some of those their cost onto us. That is a risk, and that's something we're going to have to be constantly paying attention to. But the second category, I think, is what you're talking about. The second category of issues is what happens if a data center comes and then it falls apart. Either it's superseded technologically, or it has financial issues, or it changes, a different kind of technology comes in. And we know this computer technology is so fast, changing so fast, that there will be companies that will succeed and there'll be companies that won't succeed. Some of these projects will turn out to be what they expect them to be, and some projects might fail. And so it's this area of policy that I think that the Public Service Commission and the legislature should be focusing more attention on. I think there is attention on that first set of issues, but there isn't enough attention on what happens if everything goes wrong. And and just to be clear, the problem that we're worried about is a huge power plant being built to serve a huge data center, but then the data center goes away. And the utility is going to want someone to pay for this power plant. And in that scenario, I worry that we will be picking up the tab, that all the cost for this multi-billion-dollar project will fall to everyone else if it doesn't work out. And so that's the area that we're looking at.
Part of the reason I asked that question is because I heard in one state that there's a firm that's building a data center, but one of the users, one of the major technology groups, Meta or whatever it may be, is only utilizing 20% of that facility. And of that 20%, they've got a 3-year lease. So
Right.
What happens if they say, well, we got another location that's better and more
Right,
profitable for us,
Right.
and we're gonna move from your data center. So I just don't want to see these. It's like being in community development, like I have, over the years. Everybody wanted a community center within their community, and I always ask the question, who's going to pay for it in 5 years from now? And, you have this white elephant in the middle of the neighborhood that can't be maintained.
Well, let me compare it to something that happened here, in this state just recently in the Ameren, Missouri territory. We had a customer that was an aluminum smelter. It was called Noranda Aluminum. It was down in the Boot Heel of Missouri, and it was the largest consumer of electricity in the entire state. It had so much energy demand. It was as big as Springfield, Missouri.
Wow.
The whole city.
Wow.
And so that's the largest customer that we've seen in our state. And it dominated electric policy for a long time. Now, of course, it had many high-paying jobs, whereas these data centers don't have as much jobs.
Right.
It was a huge outfit down there. It totally dominated the economy of that part of the state. But it also affected all of our rates. And we were constantly trying to find the right level of dividing the cost between this huge aluminum smelter and the rest of us, and the industrial and commercial rates.
I know that the state is traveling and dealing with that right now. Some of the sites of the data centers I think have looked at in the state of Missouri are more suited for manufacturing because they're on a rail system, et cetera. And with that, we've talked about manufacturing, you're talking about creating jobs and long-term jobs, which are important. Especially in some of these communities and rural communities and cities as well in the state of Missouri. But as important, with the data centers, other than the construction of the facility up front, there's not a lot of jobs.
Right. Well, you're right. The construction, so you have a temporary boost in jobs, construction jobs, but then not near as much as with manufacturing. So with manufacturing, you had all these other economic positives that went along with it, but there was a disruption when Noranda Aluminum went out of business, and the electric grid had to adjust to that situation. With data centers, we're talking about customers that are going to be even bigger than that. Customers that just dominate the electric grid. Cool. And the only I'll try to simplify it, but the main thing that regulators are looking at is requiring these data centers to put aside a certain amount of money, like a collateral. They have to put it before they even join the grid, before they do it, and they're requiring. In Missouri, they're going to require 2 years worth of bills, and so they estimate how much electric usage they're going to be, how much their electric bill would be. They have to take 2 years of electric payments and put that aside, and so that's to protect us in case they don't show up or they show up and then go away. And
with that. Notice, John is protecting and advocating on behalf of the consumer in the state of Missouri. And that is a great thing to let you know that there is somebody out there advocating even for these potential expansions on our grid, electric grid, for people that are out there, advocating on behalf of the consumer. That's fantastic, and that's what Consumer Council of Missouri is all about. Thank you, John.
Okay,
we'll be back on another day because I'm sure this topic will come up again.
I know.